I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
We are talking about the long-anticipated Shazam non-spoiler review.
That was the most lackluster Shazam. I thought you were going to go, Shazam! But you like laughed.
I get it.
Like limp dick through it.
I was basically laughing at the fact that I said long-anticipated. I don't know why I said that. It just didn't make sense, so then I just kind of chuckled at my own joke, and it was stupid. But I digress. Let's move on.
So yeah, we got to see Shazam, finally. Everybody else has already seen it, so we're late as usual. Later than normal, really. Normally we're always the last to ever talk about a damn movie, and now we're really late, because everybody got to see it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, excuse us for deciding to go to the Watchmen viewing or showing or whatever of the SnyderCon. Excuse us.
Who else was going to yell that shit if it wasn't me? So
right, exactly. It was worth it.
So I guess we'll just get into the pros and cons of Shazam.
Obviously, this is non-spoiler talk, but I just want to say, to me, I feel like this was a very entertaining movie. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. This was a very family-friendly, for the most part, type movie. Had a couple, I guess, attempts at jump scares, but give you an idea, I brought my family. I have 3 kids, my youngest being 5, and he was not fazed by anything. Even my wife kind of looked over at me like, no, he wasn't fazed. The only time, I guess, well, that's spoilers. Never. I'll save that for the spoiler talk. But there was one little part that he jumped a little bit, but for the most part, he really enjoyed it. So definitely a family friendly movie. A lot of chuckles, lots of laughs, good time.
I actually kind of have the, I guess maybe it's not as kiddish as I thought. I guess we'll go with that for me. And also just seeing the audience that we were dealing with at the time, I was like, man, this just really advertised to children, because there was just a lot of kids in there. I felt like I was about to see Shrek or some shit. The audience that we had in there, compared to other ones anyway. I remember Captain Marvel, Aquaman. Yeah, there's a couple kids here and there, but this was like at least half the audience members were children in this in the theater. So that really showed to me that this movie did really focus a lot and advertise towards children. And I didn't think it, I guess maybe I was just so expecting super family friendly, like SpongeBob shit type thing, that I guess I was really surprised at some of the language and some of the imagery that was used in it. I was just kind of surprised. I was like, well, shit.
Yeah.
Overall, I thought it was a decent movie. I thought it was good. It's nothing that's going to set any bars anywhere. It's kind of for the most part, but it has a good story to go with it. It has some good elements to it as well that you can enjoy. I think the humor, actually, again, maybe it's my expectations, but I was expecting shit joke like every 3 seconds. I was fearing that this was going to be similar to Ragnarok. That's kind of where my mindset was.
I agree.
I had a guy at my work that told me it's not like Thor Ragnarok. I miled down a little bit, but that's what I was worried about coming into this. So it really wasn't anything like that. The jokes, there's a lot of time where there is just no jokes. There's nothing going on. There's nothing humorous necessarily going on. So it does take some of its subject matter serious. Is there any stakes in the movie? No. None whatsoever. Is there anything that makes you feel like anything really is at a high level degree of you should give a shit about? No, not really. But still enjoyable nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think going back to what you're talking about in terms of the feel of the movie, a lot of parts, it definitely earns its PG-13 rating. And so it walks the fine line of family-friendly PG type movie and PG-13. There were several jokes that I enjoyed in my immature adult humor. I thought a lot of the jokes were very fitting for the age that Billy and Freddie are in. A lot of the jokes pertain right to them and right in that same age group. I thought they worked really well. There was some I was like, okay, that wasn't directed at me, but they had a broad range of jokes. Action was, it worked, I guess, for this type of movie. Nothing, as Matt said, that will blow the doors off. Nothing that is raising the bar to the next level. Nothing super crazy. but it worked. And it was about what I expected.
Yeah, for the most part, like story-wise, it's exactly what I thought it was. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before in other episodes that we've done, but I pretty much, the story went about exactly the way I thought it was going to go for the most part. There is some elements at the end. Again, a third act struggles, and I thought it got really sloppy at the end. It just threw a shit ton of stuff at the wall and just hoped some things would stick, and so they could actually make the ending work for the most part. In my opinion, it didn't, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is for the most part. Overall, the story's good. Zachary Levi, he knocks it out of the park pretty much. For Shazam. It's kind of how I pictured it. You get the idea of, like, imagine Shazam from Justice League War, the animated movie. It's fairly similar to that. You know, he has that type of mentality, that type of, you know, how he projects himself. Sadly, the best part they've shown some of in the trailers, not all of it, but that little gas station scene, I'll just say that was probably the funniest and probably the most realistic, like, feeling you would get that 13, 14-year-old kids that are, one's an adult now. That whole sequence was fantastic. Yeah, nothing much with the score. It worked for the most part. Again, they love throwing in these random tracks from like the 90s and early 2000s stuff, and I guess it worked a little bit better in this case, but the music was okay. A lot of the cast worked really well too. I thought the family was okay, especially when you're dealing with a lot of children actors. I thought they worked for the most part. Mark Strong as Dr. Savanya, I thought was cool. And again, until the end, he kind of falls apart there at the end. But yeah, solid movie. I thought there's some horror elements into it, kind of what we were talking about before. David Sandberg, of course, he's going to bring in some horror elements into this type of movie. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's what I expected. It just tells a better story than most kind of mediocre movies that we've been getting lately, compared to like Aquaman or Captain Marvel, the fake Captain Marvel. According to Google, anyway.
Hashtag real Captain Marvel, please stand up.
And I just think this just tells a better, more tight-knit story. And that's something, unlike the last couple comic book movies that we got, could really do. I definitely kind of suggest this one. I mean, it's nothing to really dive out there, but it seems like to me, for us anyway, there's plenty of seats available, unfortunately. It's kind of sad to see, like, Captain Marvel, probably the lowest of the mediocre bar, blowout seats. Again, people are probably going to get mad, but we're talking shit about Aquaman. Aquaman was cool in some elements, but at the same time, again, the story and the dialogue was so weak in that one, but past $1 billion. And then here's Shazam with a tight story, simple premise, a story you could get behind for the most part. Most people could anyway, most families anyway, which is sustains the market for the most part is families. That's why everybody aims for the PG-13 rating. It's kind of sucks that maybe Shazam may not blow the box office records off the door when out of the ones we've gotten recently, it should. It's a little bit better movie.
Yeah, I was going to save this for the spoiler talk, but since I have been struggling to add anything to this episode, I'll go ahead and mention it now. So it does seem that Shazam is estimated to earn about $51 million for the opening weekend. It got roughly about $21 million on the Friday. So it's nothing crazy, nothing that's going to blow it out of the park. But hopefully maybe Steam will pick up a little bit. One of the things that I was going to discuss in the spoiler review was just kind of the timing. I don't know if maybe that's what plays into effect. You know, it's pinched between Marvel's Captain Marvel and we have Avengers Endgame coming up, and maybe some of the marketing just kind of lost steam. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of surprised at how much the theater was empty. Just how it's kind of been a lackluster push here, and there was a decent amount 2 weeks ago, so maybe that's partially that played into it, but that was also in limited theaters. So I'm interested to see where this ends up landing when it's all said and done in terms of box office.
We'll see. I mean, Aquaman opened up to 70 domestic. We're talking about domestic here. But it had a 70 million plus, so I mean that's not too far off, and it was able to push worldwide 1 billion. So maybe Shazam will have more success overseas compared to the domestic market, and hopefully that will help with the mix that we get for the year, because we'll have Shazam and then we have Joker coming up. So this is kind of like that little transition that we need, kind of feeling of different comic book movies in the world that I think we drastically need right now. In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.